If you receive CPP, OAS, GIS or any CRA benefit payment, stop what you are doing for just a moment, because a confirmed one-time grocery top-up is scheduled to go out starting June 5, 2026, and many Canadian seniors may not realize that eligibility depends on what was already on file with the CRA. This is not a rumor, not a social media claim, and not a made-up bonus. The Canada Revenue Agency says eligible Canadians will receive a one-time GST/HST credit top-up on June 5, 2026, as part of the transition to the new Canada Groceries and Essentials benefit. Now take a breath. This is not about panic. This is about making sure you understand what is happening, who may qualify, and what you should check before assuming the payment is coming. I know these benefit systems can feel confusing, especially when one government payment changes names, another payment is based on last year's tax return, and another depends on your income or family situation. So I am going to explain this slowly and clearly, the same way I would explain it to my own parents or grandparents. There are three important things you need to know. First, what the June 5th top-up actually is. Second, who is eligible and how the amount is calculated. And third, what changes in July when the Canada Groceries and Essentials benefit replaces the GST/HST credit. The first update is the June 5th one-time GST/HST credit top-up, and it matters because it is meant to provide extra support before the new Canada Groceries and Essentials benefit begins in July 2026. According to the CRA, this top-up is equal to 50% of your total annual GST/HST credit amount for the July 2025 to June 2026 benefit year. If you were entitled to the January 2026 GST/HST credit payment, that wording is important. It does not mean every senior automatically receives the same amount. It does not mean every Canadian receives the payment. It means the CRA looks at whether you were entitled to the GST/HST credit in January 2026, based mainly on your 2024 tax return and your family situation. Let me say that again clearly. The June 5th payment is not a new application that every senior has to fill out. It is a one-time top-up connected to the GST/HST credit system. If you filed your 2024 tax return, and if you were entitled to receive the GST/HST credit in January 2026, then you should receive the one-time top-up payment. If you have a spouse or common-law partner, their tax filing and income information also matters. If you did not file your 2024 tax return, the CRA says you and your spouse or common-law partner, if applicable, must file, even if you have no income to report, so the CRA can determine whether you are eligible. This is where many seniors get confused. They hear grocery top-up and think it is a separate grocery card, a new senior check, or a special CPP or OAS increase. It is not. This is connected to the GST/HST credit, which is an income-tested credit for people with low or modest incomes. For seniors that matters because many people living on CPP, OAS, GIS, or a small pension may already be in the income range where they qualify for GST/HST credit support. But the CRA does not decide this based on what someone says in a phone call or what someone posts online. It uses tax return information. The real numbers also matter. The CRA says the one-time top-up can be up to $267 for a single individual with no children, and up to $349 for married or common-law individuals with no children. The amounts can be higher for people with eligible children, but for many seniors watching this, the most relevant categories are single seniors and married or common-law senior couples. The exact payment depends on your annual GST/HST credit amount, your family situation in January 2026, and your 2024 adjusted family net income. This is important, so stay with me for just a moment. Up to does not mean guaranteed. If you see a title online that says every senior gets the maximum, that is not accurate. The CRA gives maximum examples, but your real amount depends on your own situation. If your GST/HST credit for the July 2025 to June 2026 period was lower, your top-up will also be lower, because the top-up is calculated as 50% of that annual credit. The CRA gives a simple example. If your total annual GST/HST credit amount was $400, your one-time top-up would be $200. That is how the calculation works. Think about Margaret from Winnipeg. She is 74, lives alone, receives CPP, OAS, and a small amount of GIS, and filed her 2024 tax return on time. She does not understand the GST/HST credit very well, but she remembers receiving a small CRA credit in January. When she hears about the June 5th grocery top-up, she worries that she has to apply separately. But when she checks the CRA information, she learns that if she was entitled to the January 2026 GST/HST credit, the top-up should be issued automatically. That gives her peace of mind. She still checks her CRA account and banking details, but she no longer feels she has to chase a mysterious new program. The second update is eligibility, and this may be the most important part for seniors on fixed incomes. The CRA says you may be entitled to the GST/HST credit if your adjusted family net income is below the maximum income threshold for your family situation. For the 2024 base year, the listed threshold for a single individual without children is $56,181. For married or common law individuals with no children, the listed threshold is $59,481. These are maximum income thresholds for entitlement to the GST/HST credit, not the exact amount you will receive. The lower your income and the more your family situation qualifies, the more likely you may be entitled to support. Let me explain adjusted family net income in plain language. If you are single, the CRA generally looks at your income information from your tax return. If you have a spouse or common law partner, the CRA combines your income information with your spouse or partner's income information. That combined number is important. So a senior couple where one person receives OAS and the other receives CPP may be treated differently than a single senior living alone. This is why two people in the same apartment building can both be retired, both be Canadian seniors, and still receive different CRA benefit amounts. This is also why tax filing matters so much. For many seniors, filing taxes is not only about whether you owe income tax, it is also how the CRA confirms eligibility for credits and benefits. If you have no income to report, the CRA still says you must file to be considered for the top-up if you have not filed your 2024 return. That is a very important point for seniors who think, I only receive benefits, so maybe I do not need to file. In many cases, filing is exactly what keeps benefit and credit calculations moving. Now, who may not receive the June 5th top-up? The CRA gives several reasons. You may not get the payment if you did not file your 2024 tax return, if you were not eligible or entitled to the GST/HST credit in January 2026, if your spouse or common law partner received the one-time top-up on behalf of the family, or if your payment is applied to an outstanding balance you owe to the CRA. That last point can surprise people. If you have overpayments, benefit debts or other tax or government debts, the CRA says your payments may be applied to outstanding balances. Let me say that again clearly, because this is where people can become upset on payment day. If you were expecting the payment and it does not appear, it does not automatically mean someone forgot you. It could mean the CRA did not have your 2024 return assessed. It could mean you were not entitled to the January 2026 GST/HST credit. It could mean your spouse received it for the household. It could mean the payment was applied to an amount owing, or it could simply mean your payment method is by check, and a mailed check can take longer than direct deposit. Consider Robert from Halifax. Robert is 68 and married. He receives CPP and OAS, and his wife receives a small workplace pension. Robert hears that single people may receive up to $267 and married couples may receive up to $349, so he assumes he and his wife will automatically get the maximum. But when he looks closer, he realizes the CRA uses adjusted family net income, not just age. Their combined income affects whether they are entitled and how much they may receive. The good news is that because they filed their 2024 tax returns, the CRA has the information needed to determine their eligibility. The important lesson for Robert is not to compare his payment with a neighbor. His family situation is different. The third update is the July 2026 change from the GST/HST credit to the Canada Groceries and Essentials benefit. This matters because the June 5th top-up is only one part of the larger transition. Starting in July 2026, the Canada Groceries and Essentials benefit, or CGEB, will replace the GST/HST credit. The CRA says the eligibility, payment calculation and structure will remain the same as the GST/HST credit, but quarterly payment amounts will increase by 25% for 5 years, from 2026 to 2031. That means the name changes, but the basic way the benefit works remains familiar. You will not usually need to apply for the CGEB if you are already in the system. The CRA says it will determine eligibility automatically when you file your tax return. Only new residents of Canada may need to apply using Form RC 151. For seniors, the most important message is simple: keep filing your tax return every year, keep your personal information updated, and check your CRA account if something does not look right. For the benefit period from July 2026 to June 2027, the CRA lists maximum CGB amounts of up to $679 for a single individual, up to $890 for someone who is married or has a common law partner, and up to $234 for each eligible child under 19. For many seniors, the single and married or common law categories are the most relevant. Again, these are maximum amounts. Your personal amount depends on your 2025 tax return information and your adjusted family net income, and here is the part that surprises most people. The June 5th top-up is based on your 2024 tax return and your January 2026 GST/HST credit entitlement, but the July 2026 and later CGEB payments are based on information from your 2025 tax return. So there are really two different tax years involved. The one-time June 5th top-up looks back to your 2024 tax return and January 2026 entitlement. The July 2026 CGEB payments look at your 2025 tax return. That is why filing on time matters not just once but every year. The payment schedule is also important. The CRA says GST/HST credit payments are normally quarterly. In 2026, the payment dates listed are January 5th, April 2nd, July 3rd and October 5th. The July 3rd and October 5th payments are renamed as CGEB payments. So if you receive the credit, do not be confused if the name changes in your account. The June 5th top-up may still appear as a GST/HST credit payment while financial institutions update their systems, and after July the quarterly payments will be under the new CGEB name. Think about Helen from Moncton. She is 71 and has always seen small GST/HST credit payments in her account. When she hears the GST/HST credit is being replaced, she worries that she is losing something. But when she reads the official information, she learns that the CGEB is replacing the GST/HST credit, not removing support. The eligibility and structure stay the same, and the quarterly amount is increasing by 25% for 5 years. Her next step is not to panic. Her next step is to make sure her 2025 tax return is filed and her CRA direct deposit information is correct before the July payment cycle. Now let's turn this into a clear action plan, because information is only useful if you know what to do with it. First, check whether you filed your 2024 tax return. This is the key for the June 5th top-up. If you were entitled to the January 2026 GST/HST credit, and your 2024 return was filed, you should be considered for the one-time top-up. If you have not filed your 2024 return, file it as soon as possible, even if you have no income to report. The CRA says once your return is assessed, it will determine whether you are eligible and issue any amount you are entitled to. Second, sign into your CRA account and check your benefit and credit status. Look for your GST/HST credit information, your direct deposit information, your address, and any messages from the CRA. If you do not receive the payment on the expected date, the CRA recommends checking your payment status in your CRA account, making sure your personal information is up to date, and checking reasons for stopped or changed payments before contacting them. Third, make sure your direct deposit information is correct. If you are signed up for direct deposit, the June 5th top-up should be deposited directly to your bank account. If you are not signed up for direct deposit, you may receive a paper check by mail. Direct deposit is usually faster and more secure, but only if the banking information is current. If you changed banks, closed an old account, moved or changed mailing addresses, do not wait until payment day to check. Fourth, if you also receive CPP, OAS or GIS, check your My Service Canada account and keep the Service Canada phone number written down, 1-800-277-9914. The grocery top-up is handled through the CRA system, but many seniors receiving this payment also rely on CPP, OAS or GIS, so keep both systems in mind. CRA handles tax credits and benefits like GST/HST credit and CGEB. Service Canada handles CPP, OAS and GIS. If your question is about your pension payment, OAS, GIS, or your Service Canada record, use My Service Canada account, call Service Canada at 1-800-277-9914, or visit your local Service Canada office. Fifth, get free tax help if filing feels overwhelming. The Community Volunteer Income Tax Program, also known as CVITP, works with community organizations that host free tax clinics where volunteers help people with modest income and simple tax situations. Many seniors can use this service, especially if their tax return is simple. You can search for a free tax clinic through canada.ca, or ask a local senior center, library, community center, or settlement organization. Do not let fear of paperwork stop you from filing, because filing can affect CRA credits, GST/HST related payments, and income-tested benefits. Now let's come back to the urgency, calmly and clearly. The specific date to remember is June 5th, 2026. That is when the CRA says the one-time GST/HST credit top-up will be issued starting. But the real consequence of inaction is not just missing a date on the calendar. The real risk is having missing or outdated tax information. If you did not file your 2024 tax return, the CRA may not be able to determine whether you qualify for the June 5th top-up. If you do not file your 2025 return, you may not receive the July 2026 CGEB payment, because the CRA says July 2026 to June 2027 CGEB payments will be based on 2025 tax return information. So please do not hear this as fear, hear it as a gentle reminder. If your tax returns are filed, your CRA account is current, and your banking information is correct, you have already done the most important things. If something is missing, there is still a practical step you can take: file, update, check, or ask for help. The worst thing is not being unsure. The worst thing is staying unsure and doing nothing. One more thing: if you receive less than someone else, that does not automatically mean there is a mistake. If you receive nothing, that does not automatically mean you were forgotten. Benefits like this depend on eligibility, income, family situation, tax filing, and sometimes outstanding CRA balances. The safest response is not to panic and not to trust random comments online. The safest response is to check your CRA account, confirm your filing status, review your direct deposit details, and contact the CRA through official channels if your account does not make sense. Canadian seniors have spent decades working, paying taxes, raising families, caring for communities, volunteering and helping build this country. You deserve clear information, not confusion. You deserve respect, not fear, and you deserve to know that benefits and credits you qualify for are not handouts. They are part of the support system that exists because seniors and low-income Canadians need stability when prices rise and budgets are tight. If this helped you understand the June 5th grocery top-up more clearly, subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you do not miss future Canada Seniors updates. Please like this if it helped, because it helps other seniors find clear information too, and comment with your city and your question or situation. You can write something simple like Winnipeg, GST question, Halifax CRA account, Surrey direct deposit, or Moncton tax help. I read the comments and respond whenever I can, because your question may be the same question another senior is too nervous to ask.